Peter, I have a question for you. What do you think would happen if we start to ask ChatGPT to write you an intro?
Honestly, I don't know.
Okay.
Probably some information will come up, and I think a friend of mine did it a while ago. And I can't remember the details. So no, I don't have a clue about what's going to come up. Maybe a mix of different stuff, I guess.
Okay. Well, beware to be humbled. Here's your intro. A trailblazing force in badminton history, renowned for his exceptional skill, strategic power, and unwavering determination, our next guest stands as a towering figure in the world of badminton. With a career marked by numerous titles, memorable matches, and a relentless pursuit of excellence, he has etched his name into the historic records of the sport's history as a true legend. From his electrifying performances on court to his enduring impact on the global badminton community, his journey has been a testament to the power of talent, dedication, and passion. Join us as we delve into the remarkable legacy of one of badminton's greatest icons. Ladies and gentlemen, the myth, the legend, the one and only, Mr. Peter Gade. That is quite an intro, huh?
Yeah, quite an intro, I must say.
So finally, Mr. Peter Gade, we have to tell you that you're almost a running gag here at the podcast, because for several weeks back to back we have announced, okay, people, listen to us next week, because then we have Peter Gade in the audience. But then something with your plane, something with your schedule, something with tournaments, everything.
Yeah.
It happened, and then people in the audience were like, yeah, we're not going to believe you anymore. He's not really coming, but he is here.
Yes, absolutely.
So sorry for that. But yeah, busy schedule and some changes. And actually the flight was almost in Europe and then turned around to go back to Canada. So, and leave us in absolutely nowhere. So that was quite a scenery, I would say.
Yeah, I didn't get that. You were actually on the plane on your way to Hamburg, I think.
Munich, yeah.
Munich, and it just turned around.
It had to turn around around 1 hour, 1.5 hours before Munich because of snow.
Wow.
And obviously they could not land anywhere in Europe, so they had to go back to Canada and drop us off in, honestly, I don't remember the town, but it was in the middle of absolutely nowhere. So we stayed there for 24 hours and had to go back to Toronto, and then 2 days after I returned to Denmark.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we started.
Happy to be here.
Yes, we're very excited to have you, and I'm also very excited that you just answered my WhatsApp, because I can be a little bit annoying on WhatsApp, and I'll just keep asking you to come in the show. But you weren't that difficult, so let me ask you a first question, and I really don't want an answer. This is kind of weird, but I would like you to think about it the whole podcast, and I will get back to you in the end. Tell us something about you that nobody knows, because you've been in a million podcasts, a million interviews, and I'm just wondering if there's anything left for people to ask. Okay, so first of all, we spoke a little bit up front, and I would like to ask you, as we always do, what kind of family do you come from? Who, your father, your mother, were they badminton players?
Well, I come from a small, kind of normal family in the outskirts of Jutland in Denmark. So definitely on the countryside, from a small village, about 3,000 people, and grew up in a way where, both my mom and my dad were connected to the local kind of sports society, and they did some football, some badminton, and with 3,000 people, it's like everybody knows everyone. So it's a very small community, and at that time, we didn't, either as a grown up or a young person, you didn't have like 20 different sports to choose from. It was football, handball, swimming, and badminton. And that was pretty much it. So that meant that people were kind of dividing into these different groups. And I was already, by an age of 4, I started playing football. And I think my dad was also really good in bringing me to the football field. We had a big football field just 100 meters away from where I was staying, and I think that played quite a big role. And at that time, where you didn't have social media, you had computer games, but that was very different than today. So I think a lot of young people and older people, they just spend a lot of time outside, and it was like people were just joining this field and playing with each other and different games, and I definitely was one of them. So football was taken up quite fast by me, and then when I was 6, badminton came along. And badminton came along because my mom and dad they rented one court, small gymnastic hall, and they always brought me. And the same with football or the same with badminton. I was happy to sit and just watch for 1 hour if they would play with me just 10 minutes in the end, and then I would be the happiest kid in the world. And it was actually a lot about that when I was growing up, that every chance I had to play something with, inside sports, football, tennis, other kind of games, I started to invent my own games as well. So everything with a kind of competition, perfection, you had to be the best possible at some kind of game. That just triggered me in a very natural way.
And when did you decide to play only badminton?
That happened when I was around 13 years old, 12, 13. And I grew up in this small town. And then when I was 12 years old, my dad got a new job in a bigger city called Aarhus. And the family had to move along, of course. And it came at quite a natural point for me on badminton wise, because I just became a national champion under 12, and at that time Højbjerg Badminton Club, which you may know, is one of the I would say one of the best youth clubs in all Europe, I would say, and it has been for many years, and I really wanted to go there, and when I moved there, I could feel that, okay, badminton was going to take up more and more of my time if I wanted to do this. And at the same time, I was on the selected team on the whole Jutland part for football. So I had to make a choice, and football was a huge passion of mine, and I've always been inspired by a lot of the best players in the world. And so it was kind of maybe a little bit at that time, it was like badminton in the winter time, football in the summertime. And when we moved to Aarhus, I kind of felt, okay, now you have to make a choice, and I choose badminton. I think at that time I was a bit frustrated that when I was part of a team, that I loved being part of a team, but I hated the fact that I was not able to influence the outcome like I was able to influence it on the badminton court. So I think that played a role in some way, and ever since I actually missed being part of a team. I really miss being also outside. I miss the grass in for the past many years, but of course I don't regret my choice.
Because I'm in the same age group as for example Mats Conrad, and from really young he also played the combination of football and badminton. Yeah. He was also really good at football, always in the national team, and once the decision has to be made, he made the choice for badminton. So you as well, but you also already gave your reasoning that you wanted to have a big portion of influence on winning or losing.
Well, Franklin, that's the thing that I found about Peter is that we can call him Peter. Okay. Is that he's a bit of a control freak, right?
In some ways, yeah.
Okay, so
you have to be if you want to perform at the level that you did.
I'm not sure control freak is the right kind of word, but yes, you need to take responsibility for what you do. If you're on the highest level in elite sports, you will know that you can't control anything. And one of the abilities that you have to develop is the ability to adapt and improvise in every given situation, no matter what's in front of you, no matter the circumstances in the moment, or it could be around you, like you're traveling and what's happening around you in the days of the competition. It could be many different challenges, and I think one of the key elements for the best players in the world, no matter which sport, is that they are actually able to adapt. And so in some way that's I won't say that's control freak, but it's kind of the fact that you want to take control of your own destiny in some way, and try to affect it the best way possible.
Is that talent, or can it be trained?
I think this part. I think more the curiosity about it is something I think is in the blood, and either you are, when the challenges will occur, when the difficult situations will occur, you will see either fire in your eyes, or you will see maybe the opposite. So I've always loved these situations, but it doesn't mean that in the moment that I will react like picture perfect, but I will probably try to fight it with everything I have, and then I will seek to find a way.
Okay.
But never just sit back and then say, well, this is impossible. I can't do anything.
Yeah. So to finish off about your family, because then we'll move forwards to your career. Do you have any brothers or sisters?
Yeah, I have a sister, Camilla,
Okay.
who's 3 years younger than me. Yeah.
Badminton player or?
No.
No. Okay.
She never played badminton, so she's a lawyer today.
Very nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Parents can be proud.
Yeah. So you
Definitely.
were automatically the best player of your family then?
It didn't take long before I succeeded my dad in that area. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, let's talk a little bit about your career. So your goals, when you ask a youth player what their goals are for their career, I would say 99.9% would say to reach the Olympics, right?
Not at that time when I was young.
No, but
It wasn't
when
like that.
But
Yeah.
the players we asked over here in the Netherlands,
Yeah.
they always say our goal is to reach the Olympics, and only a few reach it. You reached it 4 times.
Yeah.
Yeah. So were those, because I heard in a different interview, I heard you say, well, that was a big goal for me, and when you reach those highlights, then they're very important for you, but not reaching some stuff, kind of you forget it. Is that true?
I think you mean in the aftermath, after your career is finished.
Yeah.
That's probably the case. But the first question you ask, if whether Olympics was in my age, growing up, the Olympics wasn't that big a thing.
Okay.
It became bigger and bigger, of course, during my youth time. But badminton only appeared on the Olympic program since Barcelona. So it's actually quite new in that matter. So at that time, All England, winning Asian tournaments, being the best in the world, had a bigger influence on me, and that was kind of my dream and my vision. And of course, Olympics came on later on, definitely.
Okay, because we know that right now a lot of pairs are competing, especially in the Netherlands, to reach the Olympics. For instance, Mark Koyal. Today, you know about Mark, right?
Of course.
Yes.
Of course.
So today on the Dutch news channel NOS, there was an article about Mark, which I think it's already a problem about 1 year ago. And in that article, he described that he kind of got depressed and his career went downhill. Right now, he's catching up again. Have you ever experienced anything like that in your career? Like really deep lows?
Definitely. And whether, I would not, this is a tricky kind of theme, because depression can be many things, and depression is something you have to take very seriously. So when you say deep downs, well, my life has been full of crazy ups and crazy downs, and this is something you learn, that it's kind of a habit, that that's part of life, and you need to handle both. And whether you can compare this to, I think, depression is a state that that is really serious, and it can, it will affect everything you do, I think, if you are defined like having a depression. So I think things were also very different at that time, when I was also doing my career. Today, there's a lot of focus on anxiety and depression, and which I only think it's very positive that we have to bring these things out to the open, so we can't just hide them. But I also have to be honest and say that in my time, this was not something that was taken seriously, and it was really a kind of tough environment. And if I came to my national coach and kind of shared that I was, which I actually did at some point, and I shared that actually right now I don't feel anything. I can't feel badminton. I can't feel when I'm winning or losing. My mood is not. And you get kind of scared or afraid about what is this. And at that time, my coach was telling me, "Hey Peter, go for a run. You're gonna feel better afterwards." And this is not to blame my coach at that time at all, because that was just the way that was the way to do it at that time. And honestly, in some way, it could also work, but of course it didn't. It didn't take away my thoughts, insecurity, kind of all these doubts that I had at that time. And I realized that that was part of my development. That once you reach a certain level, once you push yourself to the limit in a number of areas, and you go for the next step and next step, at some point you're going to ask yourself these questions. And it's also part of growing up. For me, it was. And learning about yourself, how to push your borders, and how to also listen to yourself, and giving yourself some space. Also being able to realize that you need people around you. You need a safe environment around you, so that you have people you can trust, you can talk to about everything. And that became kind of an eye-opener for me at that time. I was 19, 20 years old, so it was, I had a lot of doubt at that time. And from that point, I became more conscious about the things I needed around me. But that was a constant journey, and still is. It hasn't ended yet, and it is just the way that I live my life, is to be curious about how I can learn more about myself in every way. And I think a lot of players, if that's also what you referred to, being a highly elite badminton player it's a tough job, like it is in many other elite sports. And at the same time, as you need to take responsibility of yourself and the career you want, it is pushing things to the limit, physically, mentally. It is about your how can you say, your mental health as a human being. And there are many degrees in this, and no doubt that you learn and you develop, but you also have to listen to yourself at some point, and kind of pull yourself a bit away from everything and see, okay, does this feel good? Is this what I want to do every day?
Yeah.
And I have to admit that, because of course, as a coach, I will have these talks with a lot of players every single day. And I can look back and see that things when I was growing up and how we did things was a lot more cynical, a lot more tough than it is today. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was a lot of us, fighting a lot of battles during a career. And I think it's really cool that it's a good thing that Mark is sharing, and he's been around for the circuit for many years, and hopefully he can use this in a good way to become even more clever about himself, and hopefully in a healthy way. So he's a healthy version of himself in the future, and his relationship towards badminton.
Yeah, but for you personally, would you have wanted to seen it different when you were doing it, when you were with your trainer and
I'm
everything?
not looking back and regretting things, or like I'm actually trying to learn from it. I'm trying to learn from, especially now I'm a coach, so it has been a process for many years now, being a coach, to learn and look back and say, okay, maybe some things are natural for me. Maybe I see things, okay, if you want to do badminton on high level, this is how we do it. It's 100%. But what is 100%? What is 100% in my mind and in another player's mind? And young players today are very, very different. The whole environment, the families, the culture around badminton, education, families, it's very, very different than when I grew up. And you have to accept that, and you have to understand the players' outset. And of course, then I need to learn, and I need to learn or choose how I want to use my experience and what I have in the baggage from my own career. But it is very different, definitely.
A lot of listeners of ours are, of course, not elite badminton players.
Really?
They are big fans of the sport. I think it's interesting that you say that it's different nowadays. Could you give an example of what is one of the big points that is different nowadays than when you were at that level?
Well, it's a combination of many things. But one thing is definitely the kind of environment that you grew up in. And I think today you are much more aware of protecting. And to some degree, in some parts, also for me, protecting too much. And at some point, I like when you kind of give a person or a player free to learn how they need to learn how to deal with failures, how to deal with mistakes, how to deal with tough periods, and at the same time, of course, we need to stay on the healthy side. So definitely, a lot of players today that I work with, they are seeing their life as the full picture. And in my time, there were a lot more people, more personalities that would kind of say, I want to do this, nothing else, forget everything else. And today, a lot of the young players are saying, yeah, I want to do badminton, but I also have a vision with my education, with my life, and it's a full life balance that they're looking for. And then it's my job as a coach to kind of motivate them to find that balance. So the goals and the vision they have, it balance with the effort they put in, the amount of time they put in, the focus they put in. Because on the other hand, we can't say we want to be the best player in the world or go to the Olympics and go for medals at the Olympics, and at the same time we also want to do really well in education.
Yeah.
That's a way I don't believe, and I haven't seen it so far. So I think we have to make some choices in our life, and we also have to learn from a young age to take responsibility for this, and then take also responsibility for the outcome, no matter if it's a success or it's a failure. That's part of life, and we have to learn that, and we have to at the same time also use each other. So it's also a question of players learning how to use their colleagues, their coaches, their friends, their families. So I hope that I can create an open environment where these players, they learn, hey, we are in this as a team. It's not me versus the player. It's not something they have to do for me. It's a journey they choose, and it's a journey that can bring so many great things. It can bring so many challenges. It certainly will bring ups and downs, like life will do. And I think if both parties can use each other, and we hopefully can build up a culture and a badminton environment that can provide this, then we have a good project on our hands, and that's what I'm aiming at every day.
Yeah. So being a coach, you probably have to be brutally honest every once in a while. Do you ever experience having players and saying, maybe you're better off putting your focus on your education?
Yes, I have had numerous cases like that, and it's actually one of my one of my most important focus areas as a coach is that you need to be honest. I'm never gonna lie to a player, or I'm never gonna put up a scenario saying because I need the player. Let's say I would never do that. And it's tough, to be honest. And these talks with players are really, really big talks. It's about a player's future, possibly. And it can be a huge defeat. It can feel like a huge defeat for a player to give up their badminton career. But at the same time, I think I've had some experiences where I've been having some good talks with the player, and it's not my decision to say whether they should stop or continue, but it's my job as a coach to guide them and say, hey, if you want to continue, we have to put more effort on these areas. If you continue like you do now, then I don't believe that the outcome is going to be as you want it to be. And then talk about the different details and nuance in this. And then it's up to the player also to choose, hey, do I really want this? And often I will also talk to the player about, in the morning when they show up, do they have fire in their eyes? Do they have a smile on their face saying, hey, I want this? We can't talk about a life with badminton on high level without 1,000 repeats of doing the same things, not every day, but very, very often. There is a physical demand. There is a mental demand that other players wants to beat you, wants to get the upper hand of you. It's a natural part of the competition in badminton. There are so many areas here that you can say it's going to be part of it. I can't give you an easy way through this. And in badminton, it's also like you need a number of practice, a number of thousands of practice hours in every area in order for us to talk about going to the highest level. And if I can make that picture very clear to the player, then I think it's more easy for the player to make the choice. And I've had numerous occasions where we did make the choice. And when I meet the player, like a few months after or something like that, they have a smile on their face and they can give me a high five or a hug. And then I know, okay, well, this is what it's all about. And I don't need anything else than that. We made a good decision and the player is happy and having a life with different stuff than badminton.
I want to recall some words you said. You said fire in the eyes and smile on your face. Is it important to have those two as a young talent?
Well, smile on your face is dependent on. Maybe when I say that, I mean a positive approach to what's coming towards you. I'm not. We don't have to smile every day. I certainly did not do that when I was playing, and I was. I'm pretty sure if you ask my colleagues, that I wasn't that easy to be around in the daily practice because I was so focused. And some days, yes. It was with a smile, but some days I also used the kind of the energy that I had about I wanted to perform better, or I was not happy with parts of what I was doing, or I wanted to add a few % on this area or this area, or I lost a match or whatever the other day. I want to revenge that match. I want to get back into it. Or this was really my energy, my fire, and. You can show that in many different ways, and as long as you can feel it, as long as you can feel that the player is curious to go there, then that's all I need.
I can see you're still feeling it as a coach also. You're so fired up. You're really full of energy.
Yeah.
But I think my players can
the
feel
fire
that
as a player for you was, of course, performing and getting tournaments, winning the matches. What is the fire as a coach?
The fire as a coach is for me is to be there with the players through both ups and downs. it's so easy to be there when things are smooth and things are really like, oh, everything, we won the match, everything in the match tipped our way, so we can give a hug afterwards and be happy. Of course, I want these moments as well, and I love these moments. But when you are working with a lot of players, they are never going to perform well at the same time. So it's always somebody is in the deep down, somebody is on a very positive stage, and I think you need to be there with them also when it's tough. You can't just turn the back when things are tough, and it's also a demand for the player, to if you lose, okay, we work,
Yeah.
it's and we have to work even harder than when we win. So from my side, it's also a demand to the player. They need to put themselves in this, and as long as they do that, yes, of course I want to win. It's part of my blood and part of what I do, but it's not the most important thing in my cooperation with the player.
No.
The most important is that we stick in this together.
It's so easy to talk to you, so we're already like 3 subjects ahead. But talking about tough times, I have to go back to your career now. And with all your successes, there were also some close successes, but not achievements, like missing out on being a world champion. You really got close in 2001, and you lost the final to Hendraban. How did you pick yourself together after that, or did you have to pick yourself together because there's so much fire in you? Were you like fired up to get him again?
Well, obviously, these defeats were also at previous in '99 World Championships, Olympics 2000. Those were really they were big defeats that hurt a lot. But I don't know, and of course I felt it in the moment. I felt it in the days after, weeks after. But I also had a kind of natural thing in me saying, "Hey, you're gonna get back. You have to get back in this. You have to use this as the fire, as the spark to in you to say, hey, I'm not finished yet. I still have goals to go for." And that part, it was easy for me because I didn't win the World Championship and I didn't get the medal at Olympics. So in the aftermath, it might be less important, but when you're in it, it's definitely something that you learn from. And when you have the big defeats, that's where it all comes together. You have to dig down very deep. You have to think about all the areas that you could possibly do better to get back or to do things different. You are in my case, I'm very hard on myself, so it's also a matter of learning how to deal with yourself and give yourself a bit of space, forgive yourself in some way, and put the perfectionist demands slightly lower, which is almost impossible for me. I will have to admit that, and that's a process that I will have to take on for the rest of my life and still do. So I'm still learning on this part. But while I was playing, I think I used these defeats as really as a part of my energy to try and do things better.
Yeah,
That's funny because, funny. I mean,
it's not funny.
It
because
didn't,
no,
it
no, no,
didn't
no, no.
seem funny at the time.
No. But what I want to say is that what Peter Gade is known for as a player, if you have never talked to him, like the opportunity we have now, is he's known for his fast attacks, his smooth footwork, pressure play, of course, his deceptive shots, but the fighter mentality and the ability to stand up after falling down, continuously wanting to improve, setting the high bar for yourself. I think that's it's a beautiful thing to hear from you, and that's, I think, maybe that identifies you as a player even more than only the known YouTube videos of your deceptive shots.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, I also think that's, of course, I know about how people will see the deception and all of these things, but Honestly, I think if you ask people around me and people working together with me, or you ask my coaches, I definitely think that they will also point towards that part.
Yeah. Is it satisfying for you to, because I know you had like an amazing career and so much effort. Is it satisfying enough for you to be a coach?
How should I understand that you do you mention do you mean that just being a coach is
It's
or
not it's
no, no.
not no. I mean, is it enough for you as like this really fired up person? Do you get like the fire in your eyes when you're coaching? Do you feel that, or
Yes.
is it a different fire?
Oh, you mean like the same well, honestly, at some point and it's also been a process working as a coach because for me stepping onto court, of course it's different being a coach or being a player because the outset for you is not yourself. The outset for you is the player, and it is different in a way that you at some point your desire to win, you have to be careful that it doesn't overtake your way of helping the player. And in my case, sometimes my expression, the way I look, the what I talk, how I talk, it can say even more maybe
Hmm.
than what I say. So for the player to I think a lot of my players they feel that I'm really into this, um, and at the same time we can also smile about things. We can also, there's nothing we can't. We have to be able to talk about almost everything, and we can't sit back and be careful and hold back. It's not going to take us anywhere. So when I'm on the chair, I really like when I'm able to, with the player, to go out of the comfort zone, and we both feel that we want the same goal, and that you can feel that the player it's a teamwork, that he or she is in it with you, and no matter if we win or lose. But I definitely have to. I don't have to tell myself that this is important, or it's more important that I sometimes hold back a little bit. Also, mainly because if I have tournaments where I will be on court from maybe 9 in the morning until 11 in the evening, almost constantly. So it means you will have, I don't know, 10, 12, maybe more matches, and these matches some will take you through the roller coaster. So you also have to you have to stay in it yourself and possibly protect yourself a little bit so you can be the best coach possible. And I think that's a good exercise for me, but it's still an exercise for me if through having a tough battle with a player and we end up losing and the things are not going the way we want to. I will still take it with me, in the hotel room in the evening, and I
Yeah.
will probably wake up in the morning and immediately I will have like 2 or 3 key points and I'm going to write them down, and I want to talk to the player about it. So that's
Yeah,
just how I am.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would say that your life motto, if I can be so free and accept it or not, would be no regrets, just improvements, right?
I think that's pretty. I think that's a good way to see it. Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to hear that also Peter Gade gets new visions in the hotel after the match.
Yeah.
I'm happy to
Yeah.
hear that because it happens to me way too often that after the match finished, I thought, oh, I should have given that tip or I should have given that advice to a player. Always too late.
Yeah.
But
So
I'm happy that you have it too.
what I found was interesting was that Frank, he said my coaches. So
Yeah.
he's not educating players. He's also educating coaches, from what I'm thinking now. Or are they educating you? Are they further with coaching?
Who do you mean?
Well, you have a coaching staff at the Peter Gade Academy,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
and you call them my coaches. So you're obviously involved as a person and as a former player and as a trainer and as a coach. Are they teaching you stuff? Are you teaching each other stuff? How's that going?
I think the coaching staff I have at the academy is coaches that are younger than me, and of course with a little bit different outset and maybe not the same practical experience as I have. But all of them are very curious about improving as coaches, but also as human beings. And I think it has to be a combination, because I don't know how many percent, but a lot of percentage of what we do as coaches is to feel and understand and to have empathy with the player that we are coaching and working with. And you need that empathy, you need that feeling to help the player the best way possible, and at the same time you need to be able to push them. So that balance is something that we talk a lot about, and I have no doubt, and this is something that I think will have a lot more focus in the future as well. Like, we can see it in some other sports, and recently, as I'm a big Liverpool fan, you can see that Jurgen Klopp is stepping down, and he's admitting, that this pressure is taking its toll on him for many years, which I can totally understand. And I have to say that in badminton, we also have to respect that being a coach and putting in the amount of work that I can see a lot of coaches do all around Europe, all around the world, it will also take its toll on the coaches.
Yeah.
And we have to find an environment where we can protect the coaches as well, because the defeats, the tough moments, when can be really, really tough for the coaches as well. Of course, it's tough for the players, but for the coaches who are investing hours, years of their life into helping these players the best way possible, it can be extremely tough. And often, these coaches find themselves, alone. It's not like we have a coaching society where we are helping each other, which I actually believe we should have. And my eyes are a lot on my coaches, on how to help them the best way possible, how to assist them when we are having the tough moments. So I think that's an important aspect that we have to take along.
See, Michael, so you have to be kind to me.
I'm always kind to you, Frank.
Yeah, I have a tough time, man. Come on.
I have a question. Would you say that it's fair to say that your coaching started out with the French project in France, obviously?
No, I would say that it started out with me doing projects while I was still playing. The first time I was injured, I was away for about 1 year. And at that time, I started a youth talent project in Denmark. Yeah. So I think that was the beginning of me accepting that probably in some way I will go the coaching way. I wasn't 100% sure about that at that time, but I felt it was natural for me to give away, pass on the experience. And I started doing that with these groups of younger players on occasion. And then it kind of developed through the years. And actually, the first 2.5 years, I think, after I finished my career, I was not doing coaching, only on a, kind of a not low level, but a
small scale.
Small scale, yeah. And then at some point, France approached me, and I was thinking, okay. I felt that this desire to pass on was probably too evident in me, and I decided to take on the project.
But is it a coincidence, Peter, that when you did that project, I think it was like 2 years ago, a little bit more, 3, maybe 4?
It's more. I was in France from 2014 until 2017.
A long time before. Yeah. Is it a coincidence that we have so many French players right now coming out?
I think he must have planted the seed, right?
Well, he must have, yeah.
I would answer this way, that already when I came to France, I think that there was on many levels. I think there were a lot of passion, a lot of coaches putting in a big effort in many different places in France. There were a lot of talent as well. So you would see young players, and some of these players you see today, like the pop-ups, like Arnaud Mercle, Alex Lanier, Delphi Delrue, Tom Schickel. These were young sparks at that time, and you could see the kind of the potential. So I hope, and obviously I'm not the person to ask about this, but I hope that I put in a framework and some tools and some hopefully some inspiration for both players and coaches, so they could see that the pathway were even more clear, in order to see what will the demands be for them to go all the way.
Yeah.
And in that perspective, I hope that I gave them some tools that both players and coaches have been able to use. It will be more easy for them to answer that. So, but I hope
Yeah.
so. And it was really I learned a lot about this period in France, trying to implement my philosophy, the way I was seeing badminton in a country where the badminton culture was different, and actually the badminton culture was starting to form, and it still is in France. I think France has a huge potential, and I think hopefully we will see them appear as a European country in the future, that can keep developing young players, and definitely the passion from both players and coaches are there, and it's just great to see that we see them on the highest level today.
Yeah, it just took, in Holland we say, alle neuzen moeten dezelfde kant op staan, which means all noses have to point the same way. So everybody has to work together. That's kind of what you did there, huh?
That's what I tried to do, yes. And together with Jesper Haugaard, my assistant coach, we tried to implement that philosophy, that I wanted to motivate and inspire players and coaches to work together, because I believe that's how I'm also raised. That's how my badminton culture has been. That if we want to beat the others, then we have to work together. And badminton it is an individual sport, but it is also a team sport. And the team perspective will come in every single day when we step on the practice court. And we need to help each other. We need to be there for each other. And most importantly, we need to push each other. If as players, if you're not ready to push each other in the daily environment, I believe there's a clear limit on how much you can develop. On the other hand, if that environment is open and people are willing to put in everything to push each other, then I see endless possibilities.
Yeah, let's talk money, because this is kind of a weird question. But what if money was never an issue? What would the road map be for players starting at a young age? So you can do anything you want to. What would you make them do? What would be their roadmap?
If money wasn't an issue, but you mean that money is a big issue for young players today?
Depending on which country you're in, yeah. So for instance, in small badminton countries like the Netherlands, you have to have parents that can afford it. If you don't have those parents, then you have fewer chances. You can still make it, but the chances are smaller.
Yeah.
I think so.
I think I understand what you mean. That in order to compete, you need to be able to have the best coaches. You need to be able to travel to all the tournaments to get as many points as possible to be able to qualify for the events that matters. That is, of course, the drill.
Yeah.
But I also have to say that now I would say things are different today than they were in my age. Also on the highest level, there are a lot more tournaments on the highest level today than when I was playing. But working with young players, I have to say that in many ways, I don't think about the next tournament. I don't think about what's just around the corner. Of course, I'm ready to help my players prepare for, a certain tournament or a certain goal. But when I work every day with my players, also especially the younger ones, it is long-term thinking. And I think about the base and the tools that they need in place in order for them to go for the highest level. And that's what we're working on every day. I think it's my job to make sure that we make this toolbox and the base as strong as possible.
Yeah.
And of course, the player will think about, I need to beat him or her the next weekend or whatever, and points and etc. Yeah, I've always been. My way of working is if we're good enough and if we did our homework, if we did the base strong enough, the points will come.
Yeah.
Of course, tournaments is a big part of that, and you need to play tournaments, and you need to fail and do a lot of tournaments back and forth. That's part of it. But you cannot be controlled about only by points and by tournaments. Then there's a limit of how far you can go.
Okay, cool. Okay, so
Can we talk about the Peter Gade Academy?
yes, a
Michael?
little bit, because we only have like about 5 or 10 minutes left.
I know, but I still want to talk about it though.
Yeah. I have a big question then, because we prepared this, right? If you see yourself in 10 years from now, this is like the typical question. 10 years from now, not you, but where will the Peter Gade Academy be? What is your goal? Because you are just a pawn in the game, right? Your academy will be your legacy.
It's a very, very good question, and I think 10 years is a long way ahead. But let's see if I can answer this way. I think from where I started the project in 17, 18, and until now, I'm very, very happy and maybe not surprised, but I'm like a little bit overwhelmed that I've actually been able to take the academy to where it is today. And
I'm sorry for interrupting you, Peter, but for the listeners that don't know the Peter Gade Academy,
they shouldn't listen.
It's a corporation. Sorry,
they shouldn't listen. Then everybody knows it. Yeah.
It's a cooperation. It's a cooperation between you and Yonex and 3 Danish clubs. Like you said, you started in 2018, and it's actually a place where players can go train daily on a daily basis.
Yes.
Okay, sorry for interrupting.
No, but it's fine. The setup and outset has changed during the years, and I started from zero. Yes, Yonex has been my loyal partner in many ways for 30 years plus. So for them to support the project, I've been very happy about that, and it wouldn't have been possible without Yonex. And then during the past years, I have kind of developed each year, kind of added on things and also shown Yonex and also the players being part of it that we are able to add different elements into it. And this is kind of a place. The academy is a place where the players come and can receive sparring, information, inspiration, motivation, guidance on all the aspects that is part of being a top level badminton player. And for me, not being controlled by any restrictions, I'm not selecting any players here, and this was an important part for me from beginning, that I'm in a situation where the players are here only on their own free will. There's nobody. I'm not kind of supporting anyone financially. I'm not selecting anybody for something. I'm here to help them, and this creates a different relationship with the players. But it also creates a lot of responsibility from both sides, and they are not forced to take part in my philosophy or how we do things at the academy. They can stop tomorrow and say it's fine. Hopefully, this is something I can give tools to these players they can use for their badminton life, for their career, but also in their future life. That is for me one of the most important things, and I hope that the academy can fulfill this role even broader, even more in the full picture in the years to come. And I'm really happy about what the direction we're going in, and hopefully we can continue that for the years to come, and then we will see where we are in 5 to 10 years. That's really difficult. I also think I want to add that elite sports and also badminton on the highest level is changing a lot. The perspective and the kind of And I think we have to be able to look at many different areas of living a life as a pro badminton player. And this is different than it was 20, 25 years ago. And I need to understand that, and we need to understand that. Everyone around the players need to understand that. And so it's also a question of following the development, adjusting, and being able to adapt to what is the circumstances right now.
So you're doing this,
and in the
after
beginning of sorry,
hang on.
go ahead.
You're doing this after your career. How do you feel about players doing this while they're in their career, like Victor Axelsen moving to Dubai, having a center over there, and Anders Antonsen he moved to Dubai now. I'm not sure, he doesn't have a center, I think, but
I don't think my belief is that it's not working as an academy or as for the moment when they're still active, it's working as the sparring for themselves and the environment that they are part of, because they break out of the kind of normal environment in their country. So they have to create their own environment.
yeah.
And which I if you look at both of them, they are obviously succeeding, I think, in doing that. So I have a lot of respect for that. And but I don't see it as they are not active on the coaching academy scene, not yet. They might be.
Exactly. Are there any players in your academy right now? You're saying keep an eye on them. They're going to be big.
He can't answer that
He
question.
can't answer that. Let him answer. I want to see his vision.
Yeah. No, I'm really not. I really don't like pointing out one or two players, but I just I went to the World Junior Championships myself, and I had like 3-4 players taking part at that tournament. So, and what we are doing now is actually looking towards the even younger players, and then I'm trying to see how can we add to their daily setup. And this is more tricky because they have in Denmark, like in Holland, they have school, and it's not easy to adapt towards the school because the school is definitely not adapting towards badminton. So we have to be creative about how we do things. And I'm really looking into how I can provide sort of the missing links for these young players, and trying to be really creative about this for the moment.
Cool. Yeah. So,
Mr. Gade, we of course introduced the fact that you were going to be a guest. So we have some questions from our listeners. Maybe we can do a short question and short answer.
Yeah, we already
do
know
that?
the answer.
I'll try. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. Who is a undervalued player? You can from this era or from in the past. Who is a underrated player?
Most underrated. Yeah.
Okay. Lee Hyun-il from Korea.
Cool. Next question. Oh, no, sorry. Short answers. Next question. Toughest opponent you played against?
Linden.
I know that. Yeah, Linden.
Linden. Yeah. When looking at the men's singles specifically, what change in playing style do you see now in comparison with the era that you were playing?
I think at my time, it was possible to still have a kind of a unique playing style, like aggressive or like today the players have to be very, very complete, and the physical part is an even bigger part of it. And you see relatively it's still the players who are the strongest physically and can combine, like Victor, he is the most complete player at the moment.
Yes,
that's just how it is. But
I'm happy to see a difference between Licia and Naraoka.
Yeah, exactly. I believe you have to be complete today, and I believe that the physical part is just a really, really evident part of it. And then the fact that they play a lot more tournaments is also going to influence the way we see it. Sometimes we get the question like, and I also sometimes myself have the feeling I would like to see the same 4, 5, 6 players being, competing against each other over and over towards the Olympics. And so, but it's just not the fact, anymore. We have a huge group of players that on a good day, they can beat each other. And I think that's how the game developed. And on this side, on the positive side of that, we're going to see more different winners of the tournaments, and hopefully a more open field going into a lot of tournaments.
Franklin,
In
I
the
have
past-
I have
oh,
a
sorry.
final question because we're entering.
Final question. We're out of time.
We're
really?
out of time. We're on an hour.
I have so many more questions.
But I
here
prefer
on,
him
on my sheet.
coaching and training because he's making players better. This is my final question, and I hope you thought about it. What can you tell me about Peter Gade that nobody else knows? He hasn't thought about it. Can you see that, Franklin?
Yeah, it's quite difficult answering a lot of questions and then thinking about it. I remember when you in the beginning of I was the first thing that popped into my mind was that I play music. That I actually love music a lot. So I listen a lot to vinyl records and also play a little bit of guitar. So music is a huge part of. I think most people know that I care about wine and food, but maybe music is the less known part.
Fantastic.
Good answer. Good answer.
Please stay on the line for a couple of more minutes. Thank you so much for having, for being in our podcast. And we'll check in with you in about 10 years to see what has become of the Peter Gade Academy. Please stay on the line, okay?
Keep in touch. Yeah.